Welcome back to Atari Vault. Better than your grandma's tits.
Why would he say such a thing?
Anyway, so here's Centipede. Pretty simple here, just do your impression of Lee Harvey Oswald and aim for the head. Really, that's all you gotta do. If you hit the head, you kill the centipede all at once. But if you hit the body segments, then they just break off into smaller centipedes. Yeah. And of course, you also have to be cautious of the placement of the mushrooms, because that determines how quickly they can get down to you. If you have a large vertical row of mushrooms, they will get there very rapidly. Yes, indeed. My name is Cleveland Brown, and I am proud to be back here in my hometown, playing Centipede. So, this game has had many different incarnations over the years. Back at the PS1 era, there was a big push to modernize all of the arcade hits in the fancy new third dimension, and this was one of them. They had a standalone Centipede port for PS1. Well, I guess it was more of a remaster than a port, because they made the graphics all PS1ified.
The graphics, that's really what this is all about.
It's a very vertically oriented game. That's one advantage of developing for arcades. Your screen isn't limited to the dimensions of some crappy 80s TV that your mom uses to watch Mama's Family. Engineers could make the screen any size they wanted. And of course, the idea of vertically oriented arcade games really reached its zenith with the Arcade Punch-Out, where it took two CRTs stacked on top of each other to show everything, one screen for the game and then a secondary screen that hung overhead to show the score. You better hope that overhead CRT is screwed in well. You don't want to have 300 pounds of American plastic come crashing down on your head. Gonna look like the aftermath of that Tiananmen Square photo with the tanks. Jesus Christ, you can't say that on the internet. What an awful thing. Welp, that was my last life. Not too much room to put in a funny name with only 3 different letters. We can't do an Oni Plays and name it like Voluminous Mohaldi or something. We'll name it after FDR. He was a top-quality president. I remember being so proud in history class when I read about the Yalta Conference, and FDR said to Stalin, "You're a cum stain, a big, crusty, yellow..." Okay, this is gross. Anyway, next up we got Crystal Castles. I'm surprised they never did more with this mascot, Bentley Bear. Seems like he's very marketable. You could put him on cereal boxes. I mean, you saw those pictures in the artwork. Yeah, look at him. Get the gems, Bentley Bear, it says. They could have put him in commercials for Bentley, the car. The marketing potential is endless. Why didn't you do that, greedy 80s businessmen? But anyway, if you haven't already made the connection, the gameplay of this is more or less a Pac-Man clone. Just pick up the dots, and the key distinction, though, is that the enemy can pick up the dots. Holy shit. You know, with Atari graphics, it's kind of hard to tell what happened just then. Maybe I'm just letting my imagination run wild, but it looked like he almost melted into a pile of organs like a Doom enemy after you shoot them. And that music really accentuated what just happened. I believe they call that one the Nutcracker Suite. Ooh, and look at this. The Atari was ahead of its time. They invented not only elevators in video games, but also buildings you can go in and out of. Hold on to your hats. The enemy's camping right on that last set of gyms. That's definitely one of the design flaws of this game is occasionally you just find yourself in an unwinnable situation. Ooh, and the hat is invincibility, essentially. It's not quite like the stars in Mario, because you don't kill the enemies if you run into them while you're wearing the hat. It's just a more simplistic invincibility. So, did you guys see in the news that miniclip.com is shutting down? I was never overly involved with that one. I was more of an Armor Games lad, but still, it's always sad when a Flash game website goes the way of the dodo bird. That frickin' witch. That's a very tricky maneuver we're trying to... Oh wait, I already got it. This guy moves so fast that it didn't even register that I had already picked up the gems. Wonder if that's just because the controls are overly sensitive or if they actually programmed him to move that fast. Sensitive controls are definitely a theme of every game on this compilation. Did you see how all the enemies came down in like a nasty, disgusting, huddled mass? Just this wall of flesh with just stuff sticking out everywhere. Oh, he flew away. He ascended off the screen like Judge Men took in that episode of Harvey Birdman. Hey, look at me, I got the high score. Okay, I'd say there's room for another one in this episode. Missile Command, that's a classic. Think it might be good to practice these skills given the state of the world lately. Anyway, let's get this show on the road here. Missile Command. Am I supposed to command the missiles with my penis? Okay, so this one's fairly straightforward. It's the classic old-school video gaming case of you shouldn't be shooting where I was, but rather you should have been shooting where I was going to be. I think I said that correctly. Really difficult to get a handle on this because, as you can see, the cloud can expand to take up to 3 missiles at a time. But it's just the timing of it. Oh god, the city's disappeared at the end. Well, what was even the point of doing that then? You could say this is an allegory for life itself. Why do anything if we're all just gonna die someday? I can't get all of them. No, citizens of Hiroshima. Oh yeah, and also there's a limitation on how many missiles you can fire in defense. See, we're all out. How horribly unfortunate. Good thing they don't... Oh wait, it exploded on its own. Wow, lucky us, huh? Thank goodness I don't have this job in real life, or else humanity would be doomed. Speaking of being doomed, the game over screen for this particular game is very aggressive. They really wanted you to feel bad about not being able to protect the people. It's like they wanted to simulate being in the nuclear Armageddon as best as they could with Atari graphics, and here it is.
Die!